I want to wish you a happy, healthy, prosperous new year, a new year filled with love, a new year filled with connection, with service, with you achieving at your highest level. I absolutely love this time of year. It's when we naturally start to plan for the coming year. And it's amazing that we as entrepreneurs, as humans, get to create something in our mind's eye and then go out and get it. And it's been an interesting time. I've been going through some old journals. Here's one of my very, very early journals from the 90s, back when I was still a stay-at-home dad. I was still a stay-at-home dad, which was an amazing thing in my life. I created this amazing relationship with my kids. I was at home, primary caregiver with my kids for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years when they were young. It's an amazing gift. But at that time, I think most people looking at me thought, wow, he's not doing very much with his life. Back in the 90s, not too many dads stayed home with their kids. And oh, by the way, we were just struggling financially. It was really difficult to make two ends meet, to make it to the end of the month. I think if most people looked at me at that point, they would have thought, wow, that guy doesn't have very much going on. And truly, I didn't have that much going on besides, a great marriage and a couple of great little kids. I didn't have much going on, but I started to find my way into success. I started to study success. I started to study successful people and how they achieve success. And now I have, all these years later, it didn't happen overnight. This was, it's somewhere around 30 years, almost 30 years of putting one foot in front of the other. And I think I've achieved success at levels that certainly I never could have foreseen. When I look back at the goals I set in the mid 90s, they seem incredibly modest compared to where I am now. And here's the thing is, as I got to be more successful, I found myself associating with and hanging out with and friends with more and more and more successful people. In fact, one of the first things I did was this Personal Power 2. This is from the 90s. Personal Power 2 by Tony Robbins. I bought the CDs. This is the journal, and I actually can go back and see what I wrote, the journal from Personal Power 2. And, fast forward, I don't know what it was, maybe 15 years later, and I found myself going in to coach Tony Robbins on his business. So how is that for a little bit of a turnaround? So this is the thing. As I started to hang out with more and more successful people, what I realized is they all had this, there was one thing that they all had in common. And that is that they just absolutely did not lead normal lives. They didn't do the normal things that normal people do. Because normal people don't tend to have great success. They aren't getting what they wanted. So if acting normal doesn't get you to success, however you define success, then maybe it's time to stop doing what the normal people do. So I have all kinds of habits. I have all kinds of practices that I have cultivated over time, and I continue to evolve them. In fact, this last year, I've massive changes in how I lead my life. But one thing that hasn't changed is I basically will not compromise. I will not compromise. Now, I'm a pretty easygoing person. I go through life and there's lots of times I'm very accommodating of people. Lots of times I'll compromise in a given situation, but when it comes to my success, to what I'm creating, I will not compromise. Like one of my principles is, you might have seen me talking about like the hustle culture, and that the way it's normally portrayed out in the world and out in social media, I am not a fan of hustle culture. What I'm a fan of is creating a vision for the life you want to lead and then going and getting that life. And not, so like, here's an example, is a lot of times it's like, when people start to succeed in business, they push for more and more and more growth and more money and more income. And to me, like at some point, well, I see a lot of them are sacrificing their health. They're sacrificing their love relationship, their intimate relationship. They're sacrificing their relationship with their kids. They probably have no relationship with their community and not too much and not too many friends as well, because they'll sacrifice all those things to add another zero and another zero and another zero to their income. And for me, it's like as I moved through this journey of self-growth, and my income just started to expand into levels I could never have imagined, literally 10 times bigger than my biggest goals back in when I was first starting out, and then 10 times bigger than that, right? It was just, once it got to that level, it was like my willingness to sacrifice health, to sacrifice relationships, to sacrifice peace, to sacrifice freedom, that just wasn't there. It's like I've got, universe, you're not listening, you're not hearing this, but I have now made more money than I'll ever need in this lifetime. And I've got it, I've got that money. I've saved that money. I've invested that money. And yes, more money is great because then I can give more money away. I can be more abundant and more generous. So I'm still absolutely pushing for greater income, but I am I'm increasingly less willing to do things that will compromise all those other areas of my life that I want to succeed in, because I want to be in the 1%. In fact, I want to be in the 1/10 of 1%. But not just in income, in my health, in my athleticism, in my relationships to friends, to family, to my wife. I want to be able to serve at incredibly high levels for my community. I want to have top 0.1% of energy. And of course, I'm measuring against people that are my age. I'm not 23 years old anymore. So I want to be in that top 0.1% of health, of strength, of athleticism, of energy, of mental agility. Those are my goals. And I will not compromise for those goals. And those are the goals that I'm building into my year. So, create the vision. First, I create the vision in all those areas of my life. Family, love relationship, mental health, emotional health, psychological health, love relationship, all of the areas. Me being an athlete, how fast I can run. I want to be at the top of those. So it's creating a vision for all of those, and then hustling for those things, not hustling to make more money. Now, I'm in a very blessed season in my life, let's put it that way, where I don't have to grind for my business like I did back in those early days. So if you're at the start of your journey, there are sacrifices. You can't achieve it all at once. There were sacrifices in those early years in the business, and I hustled hard to build the business. I was hustling for income, and that hustle has paid off now with where I am right now. So grind away in the early days, but at some point you have to look at all the areas in your life and how you want to succeed in all of those areas of your life, and then commit to those. Commit to them. No compromise. No compromise. I'm looking forward to this year. It's going to be an amazing year. I'm starting this year off in my business. I'm doing this thing we're calling the Launch Lab. I've done it the last few years, and it's basically where we go back and we distill all of the, we do so many hundreds of debriefs within my business. We debrief the launches and the promotions that our students do. And when you can look inside hundreds and hundreds of launches and debriefs, then you start to notice some common trends. And that's what I'm going to be sharing in my Launch Lab. I've already when you watch this, I'll have already put out 3 lessons, 3 white papers that you can go look at. I'll try to put a link down below. And then that will lead into this coming week. We'll have 2 live broadcasts. There'll be individual, different live broadcasts because I've got so much to teach. I can't do it on one session. So I'll be teaching it on 3 sessions. There'll be a link down below to get all the details. It's free. It's going to be the advanced lessons. It's not newbie stuff. It's not beginner stuff. This is one time where we go deep into what worked last year, what and how we responded to it, and the strategies and tactics that we used, and how we're going to take those strategies and tactics into this coming year to hopefully have an amazing year. So that's it from me. I'm looking forward to this year. Go click on the links, go get registered, or go check out the white papers I've put out, and let's go get them this week.